We are with Representative Mary Helen Roberts from the 21st District. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Last night you had a very successful telephone town hall. Tell us about it.
I thought it went well. It's always nice to have questions coming in from people that live in the district that otherwise don't really seem to be connected. I heard a lot of concern about a variety of issues. One of the questions that came in had to do with the issue of gun safety. And I went on and on about two pieces of legislation. One of them has to do with having universal background checks, and that would make sure that we are looking at who's purchasing guns, and we can screen out those who have in their background involuntary commitment for mental health reasons or who have been convicted of violent crimes. And it also makes it clear that those who have concealed weapons permits don't have to have a background check. I am in favor of that bill, and I'm one of the sponsors of it. And there's another bill that I sponsor that I also think is important, and people misread it, but we are saying to people, if you do not store your gun safely, we're not telling them how to store it or what we are defining safe as, but if their gun is used by a child, picked up, stolen, any of those kinds of things where there is then a crime committed or an injury or an accident, they will be held responsible.
Another of the topics in your telephone town hall, a big one, was transportation.
Well, it's not a surprise because, for one thing, everybody gets stuck in traffic these days, but also the state Democrats have released a proposal for transportation funding. And we are doing this because we are very aware that our infrastructure needs to be built up. We have bridges that are not as safe as they should be, and we don't have the capacity that we should have, particularly in the area of serving our ports. Washington does a lot of business that goes in and out of the ports, and so we are needing to do more in the area of access and egress from the ports so that trucks can get in and out, and if we do it right, then those trucks won't be on the same surface streets or access roads that so many of our commuters are on. We need new revenue to do all of this, and so we have proposed a package that really covers a number of areas. One of them is to increase the gas tax, but we're not doing it all at once. We want to do a 2-cent increase each year over a 5-year period. When you put out a package like this, as our Transportation Committee has done, it's really to engender a conversation. We need to know how people feel about it, but what I ask of people is, if you hate what we're proposing, you really need to tell us how we're going to do this in a different way, because you can't just say, no, 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 but then say, hey, I hate being caught in traffic, or hey, the street in front of my house or down the block needs to be improved. We've got to know how we're going to come up with the dollars that are needed to really keep Washington moving.
Another question in your telephone town hall was about your adoption bill.
The reason I have this bill is because there was a study that I read that is really very painful to read. It's called Severe Abuse of Adopted Children. It outlines 15 cases where children were either seriously harmed or there were 2 fatalities. And what we need to know for future prevention purposes is what happened, to whom, and what are some of the circumstances around it. And if we start collecting data, then we have a better sense of whether or not there's a pattern or if there are particular problem areas. The bill is in the Rules Committee, and it will be on its way to the floor very soon, we hope.
This past weekend, you had an op-ed in the Everett Herald.
Well, I have gotten very involved in issues related to juveniles and also to the criminal justice system. And this is about a bill where those two issues intersect. The United States Supreme Court has said to the states, you may not have laws that have a mandatory punishment for a juvenile of life without parole. And so Washington has to change its laws. And what we are doing in this bill is trying to take into consideration the factors that the Supreme Court said we need to look at that include the information that we now know about adolescent brain development. Young people do not have the capacity to think through consequences the way adults do. They also are easily influenced by peer pressure. They can very easily get caught up in the moment. So that is something that the court needs to take into consideration as well. And then the last point that the court has emphasized is that juveniles really have the ability to change. They have the ability to be reformed. And so this bill is written that if they are convicted of a serious crime, a violent crime, after they've been incarcerated for 20 years, they will at least have the opportunity to return to the court and see if they are now ready to become active outside of prison members of our society.
All right, well, thank you very much, and we will see you next time.
Thank you very much to you.